Okay, good afternoon. It is 4:38. We have a quorum of the board. I'd like to welcome everybody to this regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Uplift Education. Our regular meeting is this hour, and then 5:30 we'll have a special meeting with the Grand Prairie ISD Board of Trustees. Thanks everybody for getting out here on time. We are going to try to be pretty quick here to make sure that we can get everything wrapped up by 5:30. So with that, our first order of business is to take action on approving the January 29th regular board meeting minutes. Those were circulated, and I think everybody's had a chance to review them. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Terrific. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Opposed? Okay. Cam, maybe we can go to...
Thank you for joining us for like a
Yes.
short period of time to just
Thank
offer
you.
some words. As folks probably know, Cam chairs our board facilities committee, and we've been studying a potential property for our Uplift Summit primary feeder school on Cook's Lane.
Sure. So the real estate committee is in favor of pursuing a site on Cook's Lane to build what stands now 6-section pre-K and a 4-section K-5, which will be a feeder to Summit. So for a little bit of added context, we've been looking for a site, Summit feeder, for about the last 7 years, if not longer. Had about 20 properties come up, none of which have either been feasible from a purchase standpoint or from a school program standpoint. This site is proximate to Summit. It is very large. It's the right price. It absolutely works for the program we want to do. And so from that perspective, the real estate committee is recommending we pursue it. And then also it will allow us to have pre-K that will be able to feed into Summit. And again, more added context, Summit needs a feeder because it adds about half of its 6th graders, sort of greenfield, if you will. So they're not grown organically, they're recruited from outside. So this will allow Summit, which was originally built to be a Title I school, to achieve its full mission. And then it will allow us to serve Arlington from, I guess, kindergarten through 12th perspective, which we do not have today.
Yeah, so Stacey's going to be walking through the detailed financials of it as you get ready for a vote, but just wanted you all to have a chance to hear from Cam directly before he had to step out as our facilities chair.
Thanks. Stacy Lawrence, for the finance update. Great. Oh.
Good afternoon, everyone. So in the normal slides that you got in our pre-read bracket, we'll start with the dashboard, just sort of give you the headlines, kind of what's new or what's changed from our presentation with you in January. So our full year projected number, kind of the middle bar on the left is down a little bit, although at the same time our enrollment forecast is up slightly. So we're actually seeing enrollment hold pretty close to that full year, well above the full year budget, but not much further down than where we are right now, which is really nice to see. We didn't have, apparently we would say it was not much of a flu or ice or weather impact to trends that we would normally have seen and we forecasted for February and early March. Cash is steady, and our expense forecast is about $1.2 million better. A large chunk of that is just timing differences of expenses that we'll hit in next fiscal year versus the current fiscal year. And as much of that permanent difference in expense. If we dive deeper into just kind of where do we think we're going to end the year, you might have seen on the first slide a loss in students in our full-year forecast versus the last presentation in January. I think revenue would be even worse off, at least the state revenue line, but we've got a couple of things working in our favor to make the state revenue forecast actually main thing being, we've decided we can safely bump up the rate per scholar. So even though we've got fewer scholars, there's an aspect of the funding formula that has some constants that flow year to year. We've been using one from last year. When we update that, we actually can take our rate per scholar up. So despite the fact that our number of scholars are down, which we've got work to do to make sure that we hold our budgets, we begin to now think about FY 20 and beyond. There is a little bit of good news in this year's budget from that regard. On the spending side, I really have my team digging in pretty deeply across the board. With just a few months left in the year here to feel as good as we could about these numbers. Some of the biggest shifts are kind of down at the bottom as we think about programming on payroll and the timing of expenses and when are we going to, what's the bulk of, what's the timing of summer school, some of the aspects of our charter expansion grant we get from the DOE. It's a matter of when those expenses are going to hit, and we've pushed a chunk of those off into early part of FY 20. So from a revenue recognition and an expense recognition and cash flow perspective, there is a net effect on this year, but by the time we get through the first quarter of next year, it really doesn't. I'm not going to drain everything kind of like normal, but I just did want to call out a couple of things on the dashboard there and on this expense forecast, and I'll just pause for any questions.
So it's a positive news.
Yeah, it is.
It's good to be up 2 million on your forecast, so
Yes.
good job there. Is that it for right now?
Are we going to go through the action items?
We were going to say, would you like to do the line of credit right now? Because we don't need to do that in closed session or the PSF Care right now. So if you would like to do those two. Okay, great.
So we have a couple of action items for the board. This went out of the pre-read. You have a slide on line of credit key terms. We've been working since kind of November timeframe up through just the first part of this week to establish a new line of credit. Currently, we have a $7 million line of credit with Compass Bank. It's been in place for 3+ years now. Gave us enough capacity to be nimble if we needed it for real estate acquisition in that kind of $2 million per piece of land that we're roughly paying. That was enough to let us do a few things if we wanted to. Actually, never drew down the line for the purposes of real estate acquisition, but it was there for us. We wanted to upgrade and expand our capabilities and really the financial flexibility that the new line we're going to have. It will be a $50 million line for facilities, a $10 million line for working capital. This line allows us to really better control the timing of when we get started on a project. So right now, typically, we don't wait or we don't start a project until a bond transaction is closed. Harry Goodlow, our project manager, sometimes wants to get going a little bit earlier than that, and this will allow us that flexibility to do so. Bond proceeds will be used to eventually pay down any amounts we draw for facilities purchases on the side. In addition, as we look forward the next couple of years, who knows where the credit markets may be. We have a couple of big projects left to execute on this growth plan. So should capital markets kind of dry up like they did in 08 or 09, we would have this as at our disposal to just continue with our growth plan, even though we slow that banking market ups and downs. So right now we are still planning to move forward with a bond. The way the yield curve the books right now, and just long-term rates where they are overall, it's going to probably make sense. We'll fill this decision up in the next 2 months. It's going to make sense to continue with the bond program, but this could be at our disposal to start some of these projects early. So there's a lot of sort of financial terms on the one pager that you got. We're really excited. Jim, not the IRC Director of Finance, has worked real hard with a number of banks, and we've kind of narrowed in on this one with Regions as the best option. So I'll just stop there and see what questions you have.
Questions?
What's the annual cost if you don't use, if you have it, but don't use it? Is that something?
Yeah, there is a fee for if we don't draw down on it. It could be up to $75,000 a year. However, we negotiated if we place $5 million in a money market, then that fee would be waived. So at that, and that the rate we'll get on that account wouldn't be probably as favorable as what we're getting in our cash management program. So there's a bit of an opportunity cost. We're estimating that at about $20,000 a year to gain this financial flexibility.
And the finance committee reviewed this as well.
Yes. I think, one other benefit too is if you fund a new school, the acquisition of land and the build out through a bond issuance, obviously that cash, you're paying interest on the bond, and that cash sits there and earns about 2% while we're waiting. And so this is more of a drawdown program, so you're not paying interest expense on the full amount day one. You can kind of pay as you go, which is a nice offset to the commitment fee of the $75,000 or $20,000 number that Stacy mentioned.
And there is actually no upfront commitment fee in this one. Sorry, no upfront, but they.
True.
Other questions?
And which bank is it?
Regions Bank.
Have we ever used, you said it's 7 million?
Our current,
Have we ever used that much?
no.
We've typically used it for just the purchase of land in between our bond issuances. But again, as Susan's point was just in case we find ourselves in a timing where the rates we would get in the bond market might not be as favorable in that moment, if we have a bigger line, we could at least start a construction project, which we historically have not used a line for, I don't think, to give us some financial flexibility to wait out the next time, opportune time to go to the market.
And Josh, we never did, what is the calculation of the negative carry of the debt before an asset is actually placed in service versus the ability to do a project on a drawdown basis. But those savings would more than overcome the $20,000 a year opportunity cost of related to the undrawn fee.
Other questions? Okay. We have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing financing and related actions, specifically authorization to move forward with the line of credit as presented. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second. All right. Motion passes.
PSF
The
guarantee.
second resolution that we have for you, there's not a slide on this one. As I mentioned earlier, we're anticipating that the appropriate financing vehicle for our next building investments is going to be a bond. We will want to apply for the state guarantee program, the Permanent School Fund Guarantee, or PSF Guarantee. And that application we're trying to get in by Sunday as the deadline. And we have to have board approval to apply for the guarantee. Then to find out how much we get would happen later in April, by around April 20th, so that we have that guarantee secured as we begin to market and prepare to sell bonds in the May-June timeframe. And so what we're asking tonight is just for the board to approve us to apply for the bond guarantee. And when we come back to you in April, we'll have a discussion more in depth about the projects that we're anticipating to include in the 19 bond program, as well as an approval to officially move forward with those in a bond financing. So it's kind of a two-part process. First, we just get the guarantee. Secondly, we come back to you and say, would you approve these projects? So we're at stage one. Would you allow us and approve of us going to apply for the guarantee?
Should we give us lower rates? And a similar, yes, that's the key takeaway, which allows us to get lower rates, and is similar to what we've done.
Yes,
in
the last
round.
two bonds have been through the permanent school for the guarantee.
Questions for Stacy? All right, we have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing financing and related actions, specifically the authorization to apply for the PSF guarantee as presented. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Terrific. Okay, on to the academic update. Rich, over to you.
There you go.
So very short update from me at this board meeting. So just a quick executive summary as to where we are. Over the last quarter, we took our MAP assessments, our nationally normed reference assessments K through 8, and all of our primary and middle schools are really focused on that data. They have prediction dashboards to measure how they're doing toward the spring STAR tests that will happen in a week or two and later on in May. And so our primary and middle schools are working pretty hard on that. There are a couple of schools that we're monitoring pretty closely. In our primary schools, Uplift, Meridian, Mighty, and Gratis, and White Rock are schools that we're focused on making sure that they meet the mark. The first three schools, Mighty, Meridian, and Gratis, they fell short on Index 1 last year on the state framework, and White Rock Hills is their first time taking the STAR test with their group of third graders, but that group did come in historically a little bit lower, and so we're hoping that they have grown over the course of this year to hit that mark. In middle schools, the three middle schools we're monitoring right now are Hampton, Wisdom, and Mighty. Our high schools, this is a very heavy assessment time of the year with ACTs around the corner with AP and IB exams. We have our internal assessments for our DP programs this quarter for our juniors, so it's a very focused time for them. And also, as you know, that with our Road to College programs, it's really this time of year and next month where all of our admissions letters will be coming in. The most of the time of our time talking about academics, I'm going to turn it over to Priscilla. Priscilla's going to talk about just some of the just awesome and inspiring efforts that she's led here on this campus. And I wanted to just point out 2 data points before I turn it over to her. First is, in the short time that she's been here on this campus, driving the academic programming here at Uplift Lee, while wearing a managing director hat as well. If you look at just the distribution of students over the last 2 years, just overwhelmingly, she was able to move her students to national average and beyond. And her biggest population group at this point of the year is the kids in quintile 5, which is just really amazing to see. And it's our second highest distribution of kids in quintiles 3, 4, and 5 in both reading and math, just second to North Hills in our network. And that is incredible to do given the population and the diversity we have here at Uplift Lee. And then last year, this will probably come up when we sit down with our partners from Grand Prairie ISD. Uplift Lee had an A rating, and one of 2 schools in our primary schools that had an A rating, Lee and Uplift North Hills. And if you look at the distribution of students who hit approaches, 74% passed the reading and math exams. But if you look at the percentage of scholars who scored meets, you're looking at around 50% of the students scoring at that meets or above area, and that's just a testament to her instructional leadership, and just really excited to turn it over to Priscilla to talk about some of the strategies that she's led, that has led to that outstanding achievement. Sure, or if you want to sit at the table here.
You guys mind if I sit at the table?
Please do.
Might as well just stay.
Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome you to Uplift Lee and Grand Prairie ISD Lee, home of the Lee Bears, and we are both Bears, and we did that intentionally. So it's been quite an experience to be here and really show what we're able to do when everybody's running in the same direction and have the same high expectations and goals. And that was the first thing we did. We were very strategic about who was on the leadership team here and making sure that we set those expectations extremely high from day one. So I walked in with some very lofty goals, that we will have 80% of our kids for the first year meet the goals, and that we will get to that 60%. So Yasmin and I joked, because when I didn't hit 60% met, I was really upset. And she's like, get off the phone. Because, you know, that I didn't.
I did actually tell her that.
She did tell me to get off the phone. But that's what I expected from the school. So part of that is we started with distributive leadership, because we know in this work, you cannot do the work alone by yourself as the principal. And the leadership on the campus has to be distributed to everyone. And that started with the deans and really coaching the deans to coach teachers at a high level, and then coaching teachers to work with scholars at a high level. As an overachiever, your first thing to do is you want to go in and teach all the kids yourself, but that's not going to help you move your school. So really being disciplined about what does that coaching look like, and coaching our leadership team, which included myself and then our top teachers, to be able to do the work to move kids and be really, really strategic about the data. We really used a partnership with GPISD because we had the best of both worlds. We had the instructional knowledge that we received from Uplift, and we also had the backing of a big district. So we could use some of the resources that they have that we didn't have readily available. This is a huge Title I school on the Grand Prairie side, so they had lots of resources. So one of the first things I did was make friends with the leadership team on the Lee side. And then we sat down and started to make our plan together as this is how we're going to bring both schools along, because part of the partnership is that there's plenty of work to be done for all kids, and it's not a us against you, it's a we. So how are we going to advance together? And we really focused on, in that partnership, is focusing on reading in both schools, and then from there going into math. So I started with Tony, God rest his soul, who passed away, and then Bianca came on and became my partner. And we really had to work it as a partnership. This is our campus, these are our kids, and it doesn't matter if they have an Uplift uniform or if they're in their Grand Prairie regular street clothes. All the kids in the building belong to every single adult. And so that was really having that effective partnership. We were struggling a little bit in writing, and Grand Prairie had a really robust writing program. And they came in and trained our teachers and helped us with that. We were really strong in culture, so we really went in the classrooms, Bianca and I, and looked at culture and said, here's some things that you can do right away. And in fixing the culture, here's how it's going to help the reading, and here's how it's going to help the math program. It's really nice to have another principal on campus to help with the work, because the work can be isolating, and especially when it's hard, and to be able to bounce ideas off of, and being able to say, hey, here's what I'm going to go do in my classroom, and have somebody go, maybe you might not want to say it quite like that. So that's been really helpful for us, and a blessing in disguise, kind of, so she can help me put the brakes on. Our real focus was on curriculum and instruction, but what is not there is curriculum, instruction, and assessment, because all of those go together. And we're not afraid of assessing kids. We're not afraid of digging into that data, because that tells us, it gives us our roadmap. Here's where your kids are performing. Here's what we need to do next. And we kind of stuck with that with both campuses all the way through. Our data is public, so if you walk into our office, you'll see teacher scores blasted on the wall with their names, because it's very public work that we do here. And the idea of that is if something's happening great in one classroom, we need to go find out what's happening and help the teachers who aren't doing as well in that area. And we tend to do that on both sides of the school. We really worked on developing our teachers. So we started with here, looking at each individual teacher, where are your strengths, where are the areas that you have opportunities, and building from the strengths. You do this really well, and now I'd like for you to try this one more thing, so that it didn't feel so overwhelming to teachers. But in doing so, we held them accountable. So if this is the expectation, it's the expectation for everybody on campus. And that meant we had to spend a lot of time in classrooms doing development in the moment inside the classrooms. But what we found is it's nice to have the meetings around the table and have the snacks, but that's not where we were getting the most effective development of teachers. It really happened in the one-on-one coaching inside the classroom and the one-on-one meetings and the small PDs that we did either with small groups of teachers or a lot of times one-on-one. So that meant you had to have a really good plan and system, and that's where I put my time in, is developing very strong systems so that if someday when I grow up and I step out of this, those systems will still be here and we will be able to continue with the work that we've already started. So that's kind of how we drove. And I would like to take all the credit, but it was a strong system of people who did this together on both sides. And it was a very strong TLT department. Every time I called and asked for something, they were there. If I called Johnny and said, hey, here's what I need for facilities, I know this is not your building, but can you send somebody to help me with this? They came. So, Stacy and I am always saying, I know you have extra money, can I have some? He always says no, but, here's something else that you can have. And so all of the people worked together to make sure, but that made sure, and it helped me to make sure that I knew what I was asking for and very strategic about what I was asking for and what I needed to move the school forward. So, in a nutshell, kind of very quickly, that's how we moved the school.
This is awesome. Thank you. It's, what you guys are doing is very good. We talk about you mention back all the time. You might not know that. This is a point of pride for the entire network and for the board too.
Oh, thank you.
We're constantly pointing at the work you're doing here, as it really is leading edge and innovative, and hopefully a model that other people will embrace, because it's terrific. So, thank you for your leadership.
Thank
It's
you.
really terrific.
And you're welcome to come in anytime. Like, we really have an open door policy. If you're in the neighborhood and you want to tour and see classrooms, Bianca and I will be happy to show you around. And if we're not here, anyone literally in the building could give you the tour. They all know the spiel. We're very specific about what we put out there in the public. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla.
All set? Okay. So it is 5:07. We're going to retire to closed session to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, and value of real property as authorized by Texas Government Code 551.072, and also to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee as authorized by Texas Government Code 551.074. No vote, action, or decision will be made in closed session. At this time, we ask the staff present not authorized to remain for the closed session to please leave the room, and we will come out and grab you guys when we wrap up. Good? Okay. So now we are back in open session. The time is 5:28. And the board is back in open session. No vote, action, or decision was made by the board during closed session. We have one final order of business, and that is to consider and take action on a resolution to purchase real property located on Cooks Lane in Tarrant County, Texas. Is there a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved.
Second. Terrific. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Terrific. Okay, motion passes. And then finally, I didn't see anybody sign in for the community open forum. So with that, we are adjourned.